Hi, I am Ian Patterson. I am one of the directors of Endless Adventures Ontario, or EAO, we like to call it for short. EAO is the umbrella corporation that we have set up to run the games that the LARP games that we have created and are creating in the process of doing some of them. The three games are Fantasy Alive, which is our kind of flagship one, is the one that we've been working on the longest. Dormancy is up and running as of last fall, and will be starting full games this year. And End Times is in the works and plans to do some stuff with that later. I'll get into that in a different spot later on. Myself, I am responsible mostly for Fantasy Alive running things, and also some of the overarching like admin aspects of EAO and Fantasy Alive and Dormancy, all the other ones. The other two directors that we have are Doug Renee, who is mostly responsible for FA and Dormancy, and then also Eric Boll, who is working on setting up End Times and helping us out in other ways too. The three of us work remarkably well together. That's good. We make sure that we talk about all the things that we're doing in between each other, so if there's something going on, then generally all three of us eventually know once we have time to sit down and talk. Communication is key to good relationships and business relationships. So so tonight, that's all the introduction stuff I want to do. If you don't know me by now, you can ask me more questions when we get to the conversation point of the evening. What I'm going to cover tonight in the spiel that I'm going to do here first, I've got 5 different things on the menu here. The first one is kind of a repeat of the previous office hours, which is talking about the hours in which we work and some basic information about how that goes and how to contact us and what to expect from that. The second one is the question a lot of people have asked me already before, is that for the Masquerade, we had we changed the method of payment for these from taxes were kind of included in the price to taxes extra on top of the price. I'm going to go into details on that and why we're doing it and what the plans are for that going forward. Third one is we're converting the player relations team into some new entities. I'll give the details on that again, but that's third for those keeping track in numbers. The fourth one is going to be a very quick run over of our COVID safety plan, as we're still have that in effect and just want to make sure everybody's aware of how that works and some key points on that. And then lastly, this is the beginning of the year, so we're looking at what are our plans for 2023. It's kind of cool that we actually have a year that we think we can plan forward, so we've made those plans and we're going to see if we can hold to them. And I'll tell you all about those in a bit. My initial talk here is about 45 minutes. During that time, if you're on Discord with me here, then please keep yourself muted so that I can finish the whole conversation. If you have questions or comments about anything that's going on, there is a chat within the video thing here you can use on Discord. I will check that when I'm done everything to see if there are any questions there I need to answer. Or you can remember yourself and talk about it at the end. Or I also have Facebook Messenger open, so if you want to use that to message me questions, I will also look at that once I get to the end of the presentation time. Okay. During this time, I'm going to caveat everything here with that I will only talk about things that I know something about. If I don't know it, I will say I don't know, and I will try to find you the answer at some point. As I said, I'm mostly responsible for Fantasy Alive and the admin side of running these games. So if it's a question very specifically about something about Dormancy or End Times, I might not know. So if that's the case, I will try to give you a place to find out, or I'll make a note and we can talk later about it when I do find out about it. I have to work. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. I have a screen shared here. I've only got one picture I'm going to show along the way as well on here, so the video is not entirely necessary. You don't need to do your own video. If you do, again, this whole thing is being recorded. So if there's anything on this recording that you would like me to take out when I transfer this to a YouTube file, please message me and I can do that editing to make sure that whatever it is you don't want is taken out. Otherwise, I'm going to just put the whole thing as a run up onto YouTube as is. So let me know. I should be processing that in about a week. So if you get to me before the weekend's over, great. All right, and for those of you watching on YouTube, thanks. It's well after these comments. They don't matter to you, so I'm going to jump into the stuff that does matter to you. All right, first item of business here is the work hours. So we don't just show up to events at Friday night, work till Sunday, and then leave, and then never think about it again until the next event. That's just not possible with how we've been running the game and the goals we have for promoting and improving the game along the way. So we end up doing a lot of work in between events on different things, most obvious of which is logistics, and the least obvious is things like taxes and admin work and finding the right tools for the job. All these kind of things are things that we do, the three of us and all the people that volunteer for the game along the way. So I'm going to toss up a picture. Hey, it worked. Right there, that's a quick, lean this way a little bit. That is a quick schedule of the first part is specifically my hours that I end up working on EAO or FA stuff. So you can see the hours in there as to what I do. I basically spend 2.5 days or so on this a week. I do have another job that I do that takes up the other time, and I like to spend time with my family, so that also takes up time. So these things, I'm putting this up here so that you understand if you are sending something to me and you're looking for a reply, during these times is when you should expect it to happen. And it may or may not during those times, depending on what other work I have to do. So, be patient. During these things, I do a lot of other random work. I'm not going to go into all the details of that. If you're interested, I can tell you about it one day, but I think I did go over a lot of it in the previous office hours, so you can look up that video to see that information. Not much has changed in between then and now, except I think my to-do list has grown exponentially. So, yeah, that's fun. As you can see on that too, that way. The note there says also Doug and Eric are also available. Both of them have a bit more flexible schedules than I do, so they will respond sort of whenever they can. So just, if they're not answering, give them a little bit of time. A little bit of patience is appreciated. So I'll leave that up until I finish this one. Why not? So what I want everybody here to take away from this part of this is that we do work a lot on this game. We spend a lot of our time on this and effort. And if you do send something in for us to talk to you to us, and you want a response, we will respond as soon as we can. But we need our own time to do other things like other jobs and other things. So just keep that in mind, to be patient when you do send something in. If there is a time in which you send something in and you feel like it's been too long and we should have responded to you, then by all means, send in a, hey, did you get that? Any sort of pokes like that are actually appreciated, because sometimes things do slip through the cracks. So we will never get angry. We'll never have any negative effects for doing something like that. We will never be mad. It's just sometimes we miss, and that's okay. And if we did get it and we just forgot to respond, that's also something we sometimes do. We're not perfect at communication, so we'll get back to you as soon as we can on those things. Okay. Yeah, that's it for that one. So I'm going to move this so I can lean back upright again instead of to the side there. All right, next one this one is fun. Is all about the taxes involved in this. So this made me think of the quote that's often paraphrased I looked it up, and I think this is correct, but again, I might be wrong, but it's in this world, nothing is certain except death and taxes. And supposedly that was a quote from Ben Franklin, so neat. And that's true in all of our games. There's death at every corner, and you always have upkeep, so... But it's also true in real life. There are an awful lot of taxes involved in running a business, in just being a person in the place. We all pay taxes. And if you don't, well, I won't rat you out. But don't say it on the recording here. That's for the best. Anyway, we at EAO have been paying. So in this case, it's specifically about the HST on top of things. since about 5 years ago is when we got large enough that by tax law we were required to charge HST for the things that we did. That is something that we have had on the books since then, and since that time we have just incorporated into the event fees. So the event fee is always $70, and it's been a flat rate for that, and then we just cut out the taxes from that and use that for the payments. Starting as of January this year, basically from the masquerade and moving onward from there, we are planning to instead have the event fee as is and plus taxes on top of that. What that will mean too is we'll do at the door, we'll round out, we'll do this is the amount plus tax, round out to an even number so that it's much easier to do money change. We don't really want to deal with nickels and dimes, so we're going to try not to. So this is something we've decided to do, and this is done for two main reasons. The first one is there is that I'm going to go very quickly on the two, and then I'll talk about them more here. First one is just we're looking to basically reclaim this kind of like hidden cost of taxes on our fees, because we still have rising costs of everything. Everybody's talking about inflation being a problem, because it is, and everything that we're doing to run this game has also gone up in cost. So here we are. The other one is to also simplify our accounting and do like our costs and income assessments and things like that, estimates of those kind of things. So I'm going to talk about the second one first because it's pretty easy. When we do our formal paperwork, we calculate all of the HST properly, do all these things as we're doing it in there. But when we're doing our quick estimates of like, hey, we're going to have these many people at events, this is how much they're going to pay, this is what we're kind of looking at getting, this is going to be our expenses, how does that work out as like a quick estimate of things we're doing. It's incredibly easy to forget about taxes when they're included in the cost. It's just a thing that you forget about very easily or don't calculate properly when you're doing it really quickly or something like that. So that's really just for us to be able to do those quick assessments of our accounting. That's what we want to do. And that's also to simplify our accounting later on as well. So rather than having the money and then doing the full calculation and then seeing if it's correct and then judging it against other things and doing all of that stuff, it's as straight out, this is our income, this is the taxes on top of it. They are two separate piles. It's very easy to manage, and when it comes tax time, it's a much easier thing to manage to just do all the necessary payments, and the tax man is happier with us because we're less paperwork. So and it's funny because I was thinking about this as I was doing it, and I was thinking when I first started in here, I was like, why don't everybody just include taxes in their prices and make it nice round numbers and things? And then I'm like, and now I've gotten to the stage and I figured out why. It's complicated and it's annoying and it's hard to actually measure for accounting, and we figured that out very recently. So there you go, learning as we go along here. No, I already mentioned the payment at the door thing, so that's cool. So I'm going to jump back to the first reason of this one here is the rising costs and having to do all these things here. As I've talked about before, we've run these games at a very, very slim margin of profit or none for quite a long time. It's just the way we've tried to do it because we want to make sure that the most people possible can enjoy the game and come out, and we've managed to do that reasonably well for a while. But that comes into a whole different set of problems that I've talked about before on the previous office hours. So again, not going to repeat it, so this doesn't last for hours. But what it does, the two that I want to bring up right now are the ideas of like our own personal finances. The time that we're spending on this, you've seen 2.5 days a week I spend on this. I'm not earning money from another area, so our own personal finances are stressed because of that sort of thing. So we need to make sure that doesn't cause us too many problems, because if we personally can't afford to live, we're certainly not going to be running this game. And then the other one is the idea of the responsibility involved in all of this. We take responsibility for everything that happens in our game, from the grand arching ideas of like what is our policy on everything, how would we overall like our players to act within the game, and how are we going to enforce that, to the minute, hey, did you personally have fun at this game? We do take responsibility for all of that, and that's a very large responsibility to take on, and that becomes an emotional toll in some cases. It's if this doesn't succeed, we're the ones on the hook for the problems that come because of it. So we want to make sure it does succeed, and in order to do that, we have to do what we do. So those are big ones that I want to express to everybody, so they understand that where we're coming from and what we're doing when we do this. And then one other one I was thinking about also as well is like the growth of the game over time has done exactly that. It has grown. It has improved. I can remember back to the first few events that I ever came out to Fantasy Alive, and it was held in literally some guy's backyard because that's what was possible. So it's going from that to games of like 10 or less people to now where we are on a full site with the full amenities that we have, full kitchen, full bathrooms, everything involved in there, and the between like 60 and 100 players on a regular basis. That's a huge jump. Right, and we have to do that. We have grown and improved on our systems and how we're doing things, and all of those improvements cost money. Everything does at the end of the day. So this is what happens as we go. So I think what I want a lot of people to take away from this as well is the idea that the LARP that we are running is not a backyard, hangout with friends. It is not it's not a hangout in a public park and hit each other for a while. It is a full-blown organization. So, and these kind of things are difficult to run. Partly because going from that area, which we started in, and moving towards what we're working towards, which is what I've kind of said is like a formal entertainment business, LARP. That's kind of what we're aiming for here, and that's what we're working towards. And that's difficult because it's not like there's some sort of Harvard professor that's wrote a book on how to do that, because this is not exactly something that is very common. So, we're kind of fumbling our way through it to figure it out, because there we go. Now, I think that begs the question of why we're doing it. Why are we bothering to try and grow and improve on our systems and things when it would be very easy to just sit on the site and run a game and go home, and that's it. And the reason we're doing that is because we believe that the game is a positive experience for those people coming out. This is something that we have a bit of talent in doing, and the stuff that we don't have we'll learn because we feel it's worth it. It's a game that if we continue to improve it, we continue to make it a better quality, improve on the policies and other things that we have in place to kind of direct the game into a sort of the best format that we can make it for everybody who comes out, and we can grow it to a point where we have more people coming in. That means more people are enjoying it, more people are having fun, more people are coming out and going home better than they were. That's awesome. That's what we should do. So that's why we do it. So to kind of conclude this little section here, what I'm hoping that everyone will take away from this is that we don't want to raise prices. We don't want to cause people to have to spend more on this hobby. But we do have to support everything that we're doing, that we have done to improve the game, everything that we're doing, and do what we can to make sure that it keeps going. Because the financial aspect of the game is important. Without it, we don't have a game. Simple as that. So we want people to understand that, and we want them to know that, like, we're not in it for the money, or we would have picked a different profession, really. So, and lastly, I think what I want to say here too is that going forward, I do not plan to spend any more time doing these kind of office hours and talking about these things in a public setting, at least, to sort of justify why we're changing prices. I don't think it's necessary. I think I've now explained it twice publicly. If you're interested, you can watch this one and the previous office hours. It details everything, why we're doing this and how and why we spend the money we do. So I think it seems unnecessary, and I hope that following this, and whenever anyone sees us having to change things like that financially with the game, that you'll understand that we're doing it for a good reason. So, yeah, there we are. And last thing I want to say is if at any point, whether now with what we're doing with the prices now, or previously, if anyone has ever been priced out of playing the game, they don't have the finances necessary to come out and enjoy it, then please reach out and contact us. We have made concessions before for people. We have made deals. We have worked out some things. We are more than happy to work out whatever is necessary to have you come out to game, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters to us. And if we can make it work with our finances, we will. Simple as that. So you can reach us at our email, the owners at just owners at fantasylivellrp.com. It's on the website. You can find it. Or you can message us directly, Doug or Eric or myself. We're on Facebook Messenger all the time, so that works as well. So, but yes, please don't make price the reason why you don't come out. Okay? All right. So, death and taxes out of the way. We're halfway there. Almost. Halfway through this one. This one, next up on our list here is the player relations transformation. What we're looking at doing, and we've got it all mostly set up, and we will be announcing all this formally online soon, is we are taking the player relations team, which, for those of you who don't know, the player relations team is a group of people that we brought together to assist the owners and any other volunteers or other players within the game to do two different things. One was handling concerns or issues or anything that's going on with players that they feel they need help with. And the other one is to help us sort of format our policies and get other opinions on them and get a sort of different voices into the mix of what we should and shouldn't do. So that we put together, and it worked fairly well. But what we've found more recently is that we listed it as two parts because it is two parts. And they're two pieces that don't have to go together and probably would better be suited not together. So because of that, we're now splitting this role up into two different roles. The first one is the EAO support team. They'll be taking on the first aspect of this, where they'll be helping players with any issues they have with the game or any other players, and helping us owners investigate and work out any problems that people have. The second half, we have vaguely workshopped into the name EAO Roundtable. The more I say it, the more I like it, so we're going to see if it sticks. But if anybody has a better name they'd like to suggest, we'll consider it. Anyway, the EAO Roundtable, I'm going to call it, at least for this one. Probably going forward, I don't think we're getting anything better, but we'll see. The EAO Roundtable is the group that will work with us on updating and creating new policies for the game that help to improve and sort of focus our game into the direction that we want it to go, which is, I said this mantra a few times, it was fun, friendly, and safe? Something like that. I'll see if I remember the full one. I like those three, though. Those are good. Those are the three things that we want our game to be. And so we want to make sure that all of the policies and all of the directions of things that we give to people for how they should interact with the game and each other should follow that kind of idea. So that's something that we want those to work on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about specifics about these two roles, just because they're a little new and there's a couple new aspects to them that we'd like to put out there. So the first one is the EAO support team. The current members of that team are Laura and Melina. Thank you for continuing on with that. That's amazing. So we still have that team going and working. We're just transitioning them to this new format that we're working on here. One of the major things that we're working on with this, and we've been thinking about for a long time and we have not implemented properly, but we need to, is an aspect of training. We want people who are wishing to join the role to be properly equipped to handle the role at the same time. So there's, and also know what's entailed in it and understand it before going into it, in case there's, like, it can be a bit of an emotional toll sometimes, but it is an incredibly helpful and incredibly good thing for all of us, and it's been a great thing for the game as a whole. So we want to keep it going for that reason. So the training aspect of this, we're hammering out exactly how we're going to do that, and the team members we've got currently and any future ones are going to have a set. This is the training that you need to do to join in on this. If we accept you into the role, this must be completed before you can officially join the team. Stuff like that. All of that is going to be spelled out in the position description we will be putting up later on, but wanted to put that out there as this is something that we are going to be doing, and we're going to be formally organizing that over the next couple months probably. And then I guess the last thing I want to say is, if this is a role that you think you would like to do to assist in with Fantasy Alive or EAO as a whole, then your best bet is to email the owners or contact me privately, and I'll talk you through some of the stuff that's going on there. Okay. Next is the EAO Roundtable. So this one currently has no members. This is a blank slate. We are going to try this out and see how it goes. This will also have an application procedure. It'll be less onerous than the support team, as that's a role that is more difficult to handle, we think. But this one will have an application process so that we can kind of get you an idea of what's going on with it and make sure that you're a good fit for the whole roundtable as a whole. What we're going to do with this is set it up in a forum-like area so that all of the members have access to it and can properly discuss different ideas along the way. We're going to, the thought process at the moment, and we'll see if it works, is to provide like one specific topic or policy or idea that we want to get all of the views from. And that's what we hope the roundtable will be, is a very good diverse set of outlooks and thoughts and ideas, so that we can get the most well-rounded information possible towards these things, so that we can make the right judgment call on this. But have this put forward to them, have a set period of time in which they will actually talk about it, debate it, discuss it, write up some things, and then at the end of that, it will be a cutoff. Whatever we have there, we will use to develop the next policy, or update the one that's there, or institute something within the game or games that are going on, and then repeat. We'll bring in something else, and we'll do that. And we want to make sure that it is organized in such a way that we're not getting bogged down between different things and people are anyway, whole thing. We're trying to make sure that it's nicely organized and well done, and that we can hopefully formally review all of our policies slowly over time, make sure they still hold up to what we want to do and what we're thinking of, as well as adding in new things when we discover new things that we need to think about with this. So these kind of discussions will not include like game rules or like costuming requirements or like small specific game ideas or discussion points. This is an overarching ideas that should involve all of the games that are under EAO. And I've said it before, it's the like narrowing in the road that we want to travel down to get to where we want to be, which is let's see if I remember it, fun, friendly, safe. Safe was not the word, but I still like it, so we're going to keep it for this. But that's what we want the the games to be, and we want to make sure that that gets there. So, yeah, that's about it for that one. We will have a formal post put up about this and the proper full descriptions of them also available to the public sometime soon. When those go up, we will put up a post asking for people to apply to those two positions if you need anything. If you're interested, then you can do that. And so look out for that along the way. We'll have if you are interested in that stuff, we can also talk a little bit about it after my whole spiel coming up. But otherwise, you can also just find me on Facebook Messenger to ask some stuff. But I would suggest you wait till we put up the actual post of it so that you can read what the thing is before. So I'm not just answering the same question you're going to read on it. You get it. All right, moving on. All right. Getting there. Time's doing pretty good too. Nice. All right. Fourth one, number 4. COVID safety plan. So this is a very quick item, but I'd like to make sure that everybody's understanding of what we're doing here still. So the COVID safety plan we have kept in place since all of the restrictions and requirements and things have dropped out. We still consider it a good idea for what we've been doing, considering there are still, I get notices about high levels of things. So it's for the safety of our players, we still think it's important. The last one that we had was updated in August of 2022. And after discussion with the heads of FA and our own considerations, we've decided to keep that same copy of the COVID safety plan in place at least through the rest of the winter. And come spring, we will reevaluate. We are talking to people around. We are consulting what medical professionals we know for their opinions, and we're looking at the statements of like Health Canada. I'm in Ottawa. I get the Ottawa Health updates. So these kind of things are all part of considerations of this, and we will be using those to kind of decide what we're going to be doing come the spring. But I would like to just highlight, please, if you have not looked at it again recently, please go check it out. Again, it is in our on the policies of the Fantasy Alive page or the EAO page. Just look up the COVID safety plan there and you can find it. If you have not read it over, I suggest reading it over before your next event you're coming out, just so that you're fully aware of the things that we're trying to do. But I've got 4 highlights I want to put up here. Which is, one is we still require masks to be worn, face masks to be worn during combat and whenever you're inside a building. The next one is we also are doing our best to maintain as much space between people as possible. And then we are also, this one next. The other one I want to point out is that part of our idea is that we want to promote dramatic combat as well, still maintaining the safety aspect of all of this. And so one of the ones that we put in place for that one is the idea of we do our best to, if there is a situation of one player fighting 3 or more people, it should never exceed that 1-to-3 aspect ratio whenever possible, so that there isn't a crowding of people around. That probably looks bad on the video. I'm going to stop doing that. So we don't have that crush of people all together in those kind of things. And for dramatic combat purposes, it's if you are surrounded by more than 3 people, there's no way you can react to the hits that are going on you, and so it becomes less dramatic combat and not as cool. So you don't need to. The hope is that if you are 3-on-1, then you should win. Simple as that. There are only a few things out there that could take on like that sort of situation and survive it for any length of time. So as plot and cast and things, that's something that we're also considering amongst all of this, so that we can also help keep things spaced apart. And the last one is we're doing our best to maintain the cleanliness of the place around, and doing our best to spread people out based on the way we do things. So a good example is at FA Toronto, we have big juice jugs and water jugs for people to drink from, so you stay hydrated. And we have recently, in the fall, moved those to an outside location so that it's easier to get at them and not be crowded in amongst the rest of the people in the tavern. So, yeah, there you go. Those are the ones. If you have Any thoughts or opinions on the COVID safety plan and you would like to let us know about them, please send an email to the owner's account, owners@fantasyalivelrp.com. We will read it. We will take it into account in our consideration and what we do. So, and we appreciate the input from people to hear what's going on and your own thoughts and what we're doing. So, all right, last one, and it may not be 45 minutes, but I'll be close. So, last one is plans for 2023. So this is mostly fun stuff, I think. We have the event schedules are set for FA Toronto and FA Ottawa Kingston are both up and available on the website as well as on social media. So check those out when you can. We have even put up the planned special events for FA Toronto on that schedule, so you can see what cool things are coming up. And there's a bunch of things. We have a couple of brand new things on there that we were toying with before the pandemic, and now really wanted to implement. So that should be interesting. And yeah, it's kind of nice to be in a position where we're looking forward and we're able to plan that far out. For the last year and a half or so, we have not been able to. And so, or at least we didn't want to because we were still concerned we wouldn't be able to do it. So it's nice to be in that situation again. So specific game plans here. For FA Toronto, the next event coming up is in February. We did just have the Masquerade event previously. Thank you to everybody who came out to that and participated and helped out with it. I sorely could not make it, but it sounds like it was an awesome night, so good job for everybody who was there. But the February event coming up is near the end of February. I think it's the 24th. Don't quote me, go check. And it will, at the moment, we are debating whether it will be a day mod on just the Saturday or the full weekend. And it will depend on what kind of information we see going on with different things. If we want, because it's in February, it will be very hard for people to camp outside, and we don't want to crush too many people inside of the tavern and just spread germs everywhere. So it's a debate what we can do, and when we're there, we may ask for some input, but we will be making a decision on that in the next 2 weeks. So that everybody has enough time to make their own plans for how that will work. That one there. I know the plot team has gotten together and talked about the next year-long plot, and from what I've heard, it sounds really awesome. I'm excited about it, so I hope you are too. It should be pretty fun. And something specifically that we will be planning is the fair. We are planning to host the fair again this time in August this year. I guess it was August last year. It's usually August. At the August event, we'll be hosting the fair. My current hope at the moment is to make that fair similar to the one we did in 2019, which was a very big event. We had lots of different vendors show up to the site to sell cool things to y'all. We had lots of different games and activities and cool stuff going on. I'm hoping to basically mimic that or make it better. That's the hope of my personal here, and that will be in August. So we're going to start the planning for that in the next month, probably, to start getting that going, because it takes a lot of pre-planning to get something like that working. So keep an eye out for that. And if you made our fair event last year, hopefully you remember it fondly, and the next one will be hopefully even better. We'll see. Last one I want to talk about right now is the feast. So we had, again, pre-pandemic, hosted basically a sit-down dinner for all of the people on our final event of the year in November, which was fun. It was great. Enjoyed it. It was kind of our method of saying thank you for a great season, and thank you for being players and doing stuff like that. So we put that on, and I think it went pretty well most of the time. And we have it tentatively scheduled again for the final event this year. That's also tentative based on the state of the world and such. So we will, closer to that date, we will decide on how that's going to work and if we're going to do it. But I'm hoping we will, because it's a fun thing to do, and it's a nice thank you to everybody who comes out and participates in the events. So, there you go. All right. FAOK. Fantasy Live Ottawa Kingston. I have just been talking with Greg, and he's got some plans for this next year coming up. The first event there is in May, I believe. Again, don't quote me. Go check the schedule. Which is necessary because it's hard to get in. It's basically impossible to get into that event when there's snow on the ground. So, or much snow. Hopefully by then it is Ottawa. There probably will still be snow in May, but hopefully it will be passable enough that we're good to go. But yeah, Greg's got a lot of interesting plans coming up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and he's also got some interesting builds designed for the next year. If you've been coming out to events, you've probably seen the progress in the construction of the place. That's just really awesome. I have been watching it go every event I show up, and I'm like, how did you do all this? Because it's really cool, the stuff that he's been building. So I'm excited for that stuff, and I hope you will be too. So it will be, and those events are coming up soon, so do that. Greg's got some plans to associate some social events, special parts of his events and things. For those of you who remember or were there, he did a pit fighting tournament, I think in the fall last year. I forget which event it was. But yeah, that's one that he's hoping to make sort of a regular occurrence, and there may be some other ones he's got cooking up. So look out for those along the way, and when he's got those figured out, you'll hear about it. And I'm going to do a quick run through of Dormancy and End Times. Again, I don't know everything that's going on with it, but I do know the big stuff, so I'm going to just mention that stuff. And then if you have specific questions about those, I suggest you talk to Doug or Eric, depending on which one you want to talk about. For Dormancy, the current plan is to start events in March or April or May. That's debatable based on what site we use for it. We have been told that Manitou is not available for another rental for ourselves there, so which is reasonable. It's supposed to be for lots of different groups and for scouting youth and things, so that's okay. We're good. We will find another place to host it. There are places that we are looking at. It is mostly what one are we going to use, and now we need to start booking it. So that is currently up in the air, but being worked out, and should hopefully be settled within the next couple of weeks, so that we can get that full schedule out to everybody quickly, with enough notice that you can go have fun at Dormancy. And then for End Times, similar situation. For End Times, we're hoping to run our first playtest events for that in the summer, or by the fall at the latest. That will either be, if it's in the summer, we have a possibility of renting Manitou during that time, or we may find another site. If we find one that's good for Dormancy, we may also use it for End Times. There's a bit of an up in the air of what exactly we're doing with that. So as soon as we've got that, we will also let you know. I think as soon as we settle on the site for Dormancy, we should be able to settle on what we're doing for End Times, and then that will be publicly announced for the people out there, so you can check that out as well. And then last couple things I want to say, and I'm running out of time if I said 45 minutes, so here we are, is just sort of like an overarching admin kind of stuff that's going on. This one's actually mostly for Fantasy Alive, but we do have a database that's being worked on and being developed right now. Cool guy Alex is working on that. He's doing a fantastic job, and I'm very hopeful that it will be something that we can use formally for Fantasy Live coming up. It's still in progress and not fully usable, but it is coming along, which is really cool. I know if you've come to some FA Toronto events, he has brought his computer out and showed a few people some of the ways it's working, and he's been working on it since our last event. So I'm hoping that comes out and works, and we can finally have our online logistics method. I am super excited about something like that getting done. So yeah. And then the other one that we want to do is, like I said about the EAO roundtable, is we want to start a more formal process of reviewing our policies and adding new ones and things like that, making that part of our regular occurrence of working through this to make sure that we're up to date on things, or anything new comes up, we can actually like discuss and bring into the game, into all the games. So that's something that we're planning on doing going forward, with the help of whoever is interested in volunteering for that role. So, yeah, that's it for my spiels. That's all 5. I think I said 5 things. That is all of my 5 things I planned to talk about here. And I'm only like a few minutes over, so score. So that was pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is open up the floor. If anybody in Discord has any questions that they want to ask, or I will check out the chats now to see if anything was said during all of this. Then feel free to ask. And I'm here for an hour and a bit. You got my full attention. I'm going to check out chats while I'm sitting here. If you have a question, just go ahead and speak up. Or comment, or just want to say hi. Oh, there are actually questions in the chat, it looks like. Jeez. Gleason loves putting up his riddles. All right. For those of you who are watching this video and can't see the actual chat, he has asked, it cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelt. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter. What is it? My first thought with the kills laughter thing is silence, but... Oh wait, I know. Puns. Puns kill laughter immediately, because they immediately cause groans.
I'll give you 1 minute to figure out the answer, then I'll tell you.
Yeah? Okay, alright. I didn't know there was going to be a test. Oh, man. Alright, I'm willing to take hints from people.
What was it again?
Okay, alright, you ready? Hey, this doesn't count for the minute, right? Alright, anyway.
No, it does.
Great, okay. It cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelt. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter. What is it? We have possible answers of silence and nothing so far.
Darkness?
Oh. Darkness doesn't kill laughter, though. I'm going to say aliens. Aliens are behind stars.
I've lost track of how long it was, but I'm going to say time.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. I should remember most of these riddles. It's like silence or nothing or time are like the basic answers you have to run through first before you go to anything else, because that always seems to be the answers for these. Nice. All right. You got me. I lost. I don't know what I lost, but I lost. Okay. All right. From Tempo Aspire. His question is, will Sunday content be more comprehensive in 2023? I heard it was pre-pandemic, but it seems like last year it was a few things coming in town each Sunday. That is something that we have noticed, and it's been a symptom of our ability to have our plot team active, because we've had such issues like through the pandemic, people being sick or away or otherwise not able to be there. And Mike, unfortunately, having problems with his ankle, meant he hasn't been able to be there for full weekends. I don't think yet. So that is something that we did notice ourselves, and we're like, this isn't good. We need to actually put some stuff in there. So that is something we've noticed, something we're working on, and we're planning on having full things going on there. And we've worked out sort of like schedules of like, all right, if you're here, what plot member is here and when. Okay, cool, you're here for these times. This is kind of when you're going to be active, and you can take a break during these times. That's a whole organization thing that, again, we had much better, and then we had to relearn again. So, yeah, for sure. Good question, though. That's something, that I know that it's kind of a letdown when you're like, Sunday's here, and why did I stick around? I heard that comment a couple of times, and that's something that, we definitely want to make cooler. So, there you go. Yes, and Tyler, you do need me to send me that. So that's one that we need, and I need to figure out. Actually, I have that on my list. That is um, one of my to-do list, is to work out how to put tax exemptions onto payments on things that are there. So, which also makes that easier when it's not included in the price. So that's good. All right. Got another question from Blair here. Are there still plans for EAO to obtain its own property for hosting events? Definitely. To make this work best, especially with multiple games, your own site that you can regulate and run and have everything in one location is really just the best way to do it. It's really one of the only ways. We're going to manage as best as we can, depending on where we are. But it's going to be a lot more work and a lot more hassle to do it. We have lined up all of the necessary things to make that work, to buy our own property here. We have like all of the plans to do it all. We have all of the things that are there. We have all the people necessary, all of the materials to like rebuild and do things like that. All of the stuff is like available and ready, and we could do it at any moment. The one thing we lack is money. Straight out, buying property is expensive, especially since we're looking at getting something that would hopefully not dumb down the facilities that are available for Fantasy Live Toronto too much. It may be possible to go buy a bare patch of land somewhere, but that wouldn't really be good for the game as a whole, because we would have, are we now digging holes for outhouses again? Like how far back do we want to go in our development of this? So that is one thing that does hold us back from what we're doing, because something that has the facilities, like buying Camp Manitou, which isn't on the market, by the way, is like $20 million at this point or something like that. Something ridiculous. So that's something that, we do not have in our back pocket, and we're not going to be able to do. So there is going to be at least a little bit of a step back, but it will only be, in our minds, a temporary step back from what we have now, because we do have everything else in place to upgrade to get back to where we are or better. So that is in the plans. The second we come into a few $1 million to buy something, then we will. But at the moment it's a bit stalled out until we get the financing necessary to do it. So, and we are looking up different ways of doing that and various other options. It's just got to be in between everything else we're doing too. So there's a lot going on. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully that answers that. I guess one answer to that too is that I sincerely doubt, unless something falls into place real easy in the next couple of months, that anything on that will happen in 2023. So I suspect our plans currently are to use the facilities we've got. So unless something happens like tomorrow and one of us digs up a pirate's treasure in our backyard, will probably be 2024 before we have any option to do something like that, just realistically. So yeah, there you go. Anybody else have a question? You are welcome to unmute yourself and ask it directly in the Discord, or you can ask it in the Discord chat, or I've got Facebook Messenger open if you want to send something there too. I'm going to take a drink. I've talked a lot. Now you can talk. Watch me drink. Lucky you. I am currently not seeing any questions. All right. Well, you know what? I prepared this time. Last time I did not. This time I did. I actually have notes on some stories that I'm willing to tell. So if that sounds like a fun time, I can tell you all a story to pass some time here and see if anybody else thinks of any questions along the way. Would you like me to tell a story? I'm just digging for compliments here, so you don't have to, but yeah, I was thinking I could. gotta take another drink before I think about it, though. I see someone typing. I'll wait till that's over to see if the answer is no. Don't tell a story. There we go. Okay, it is actually tell a tale. All right. So this is an interesting one I remembered the other day. This is from way back, very early on in Fantasy Alive's run. At the time, I believe this is shortly after Doug bought into the game. I'm not positive of that, actually. The exact timing, whatever. It's back then. So this is like 17 years ago. We were playing on the back area, like forest area of one guy's farmland, and we basically were using like an old decrepit barn as our main tavern, and there were a couple like ramshackle buildings built up over time. So we're going to start this one. I'm going to start here. So one event, we're all hanging out in the tavern, and this one group comes running in from the woods. Like, a couple people come running in. I'm like, guys, there's like an imminent attack coming. There's like this whole, like, orcish horde coming in to kill us all. We've got to get ready. And everybody goes, all right, let's get ready. So they take this barn, which has one side entrance and one very large open, like the broad side of the barn is just basically a wide open space. And I was part of this. We all proceed to barricade this place with all of the picnic tables and random wood and stuff around until it's like this fortified place that used to just be a wide open tavern. And so like you narrow in all the entrances, and we like put up picnic tables, and people are like, okay, if I stand up here, can I like throw packets over? And they're like, yeah, okay. And they're like doing all this, like working away on this, like 2 hours worth of work here, I want to say. In the middle of that, the head of plot at the time, Troy, was running that then. He was fantastic on plot, actually. It was a lot of fun. He comes walking in, along with my wife, Meg, who was on plot at the time with him. The two of them come walking in at a game, stop at like the edge of the clearing and watch us like working away. And then they casually walk up to us and they say, "What you doing?" And we're like, "Oh, we're barricading the tavern because there's this like orcish horde that's going to attack us." And so they go, as good plot members do. They said, okay. And then they turn around and they walk back to the edge of the clearing, and they watch us for a minute, and then look at each other, and they're like, "What orcish horde? Like, who's attacking them? What's going on here?" And so, there's no plot to like assault the tavern coming up. Like, we didn't know what's going on here. Like, okay, I don't know. So they turn and walk away. So I'm gonna rewind. Those players that came running in to say this had gone on another mod where they had gone in to like gather information or steal something. Exactly the reason for the mod is lost to my time, but it was like a stealth mod idea. So there was a couple of people that were going in to do it. So in order to do that, the plot team came to us in town and said, "Hey, we're going to run this mod, but we could use bodies. Anybody who's not going on it, if you'd like to participate in it, we'll bring you over, and you guys can like act out the roles that are assigned there, so we can do this." And we're all like, "Sure, why not? Sounds great." So so what happens is they're going to investigate whatever like orcish encampment that they're going to talk to, and we as the players were just like told, "Okay, your orcs just act like orcs, do random stuff. I don't know, whatever you feel like. We don't really care. We'll run the stuff that matters for the people that are coming, and then when we're done, we'll let you know, and we'll just send you on your way." We're like, okay. So we go around. Our as PCs, we are do a quick cast rule for this, and randomly during all of this, we're like, it was going on for a while. We were making up conversations, and eventually somebody's like, "You know what? Those people over in the tavern over there, I don't like them. Maybe we should go kill them all." And they're like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And that was about the extent of that conversation. But that piece was overheard by the PCs that showed up, and they're like, "Oh no, they're going to bring the whole army at us and they're going to come at. And it turned out it was just like PCs rambling about random stuff that they're doing. So, flash forward, we all finish our rolls and they're like, okay, you guys are good, you're done, you can go back to your PCing stuff. And we go, oh, okay, cool, done, not thinking anything of it. The people that went on the mod come running back in and say there's an orcish horde running in. And it was literally our own statements being echoed back at us in a broken telephone that we needed to do this. So, back to present time. Tavern's fully fortified. Everything's great. We spent like hours doing it. It was starting to get dark. It was like dusk as we were finishing up. Everybody's like, had just worked for, a couple hours on all of this. Everybody's tired. They all go to bed. So, I'm one of the last people up at that moment, and I'm looking around. I'm like, nobody's here, and it's late, and we've all had a long day. We're tired, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess if everybody else is crashing, I guess I'll go do the same thing. So I head over to go into we had a ramshackle 2-story building, and I was going in to climb up to the top level to sleep, and a few minutes later we hear, smash, door crashes open, everything goes haywire. I jump down from the top to like fight, and I turn and I immediately like hosed down by like whatever was coming after us. And 10 minutes later, you hear from outside, Troy goes, Zebra, who's still alive? and you hear, nope, not here, nope, nobody, nothing, nope. He's like, okay. So you set up for like an orcish invasion, you barricaded, you were all ready for it, and then when we do attack you, you go to bed, so you get killed? Like, what is going on here? So he's like, alright, we're gonna give a rewind back to beginning in 10, 9, 8, and everybody's like, oh, and getting all their stuff, getting ready, and then they like basically walked back out and ran the mod again, and actually this time fought and barely survived it. I'm like, ugh. So he's like, but you go through all the effort to barricade the tavern, and then you don't even use it? He's like, what is wrong? What are you doing? So yeah, that's my story. That was one of those funny moments where all of the problems were just cycled back from PCs talking about PC stuff until Plot's like, alright, I guess we'll give them what they want. Yeah. And what we wanted was a total town wipe, it seems, because we were that bad, I guess. Anyway, there you go. That's one of my stories. Hope that was entertaining. In that, I got a question. What is the acreage of Manitou? You could look it up, but I think it's... Ooh. I want to say 70 to 80 acres, but I'm not positive of that. And that's pure land that they have not usable, because if you've been to the site, you know that the middle of it is a giant swamp, and there are some portions around in different areas that are just kind of unusable. And there's also spots where the actual site extends, especially if you think of what we call the mine path. So if you go from like Tavern to Church of All Gods and the path immediately behind that, and you follow that back straight all the way back to that one like sort of rough campsite that's back there. The site continues on, actually quite a ways past that. And there's actually like a hidden campsite back there, I was told by the ranger one day, that has been like completely overgrown and just doesn't exist anymore. So that's pretty funny. So yeah, like it's an interesting site because of that. There's a lot of stuff we just don't even use, or couldn't use. So that's one of those, like, the acreage idea is like a good baseline concept, but it still needs to be like, all right, now that we know it's got approximately what we might want to use, then we still need to go check it out to be like, is this actually usable for a LARP? Because we have very specific needs as a LARP, right? And Manitou covers a lot of those with there's open fields for pitch fights. There are paths that you can go through that are like narrow, and you can do wood things. You can run through the woods for different places. There is a swamp if you really want to do swamp stuff, which I highly recommend you avoid. LARP in a swamp, not fun. Trust me on that one. Don't try it. Yeah. So, and then the goal acreage. So, it's interesting because, again, it depends on what's there and what's available. We have been looking sort of in the like 50 to 100 range, so to have a nice wide range of things to think about. Because there are, again, depends on what's there. We've looked at a couple places that are like, it's 100 acres and it's not too expensive, but it's because it's flat farmland and nothing else, right? And you're like, well, that won't really work. We really need like some forested areas, preferably more than open areas, because open areas are good, but forest is the stuff we normally like to use. So, yeah. So, and we've been looking around, and there's some places that have come up that are like, this looks pretty good. We still don't have the money for it, so never mind. We'll keep this in mind, but we'll look again later. So, yeah. It's a long haul, and money is hard to get, surprisingly. Unsurprisingly for everybody, actually. So, there you go. Alright, I'm going to take another drink. I don't see any questions on there. Nope. Okay. If anybody have more questions, I'm here. Or if anybody else would like to share a story, that would also be cool. Give me a chance to stop talking a while. Nope, everybody's shy. Fair enough. Alright. What was the other one I had lined up? Oh yeah, that one was funny. Alright, I have one more story I have lined up at the moment that I can tell if anybody's interested in that. Otherwise, if you have any other questions or anything else you want to, or comments on things that are going on, or suggestions for things you think I should care about, or should do, or should know, I'm here. I'm going to stretch because I've been sitting in this chair for too long. No responses. Alright. I will tell my second story, and then we'll see where we're at, and if we have nothing else, then I may call it short for the night and say thanks for everybody, but if you think of anything along the way, feel free to ask. I'll do that along the way, but I can tell you one more story. So, I think it was a different one. We were using, so this one occurs on the second site that we used for FA, and that was an interesting one. It again was in like the back area of a farm, but it was a different place. But it had, again, there's a lot of swamps associated with LARP. It's interesting that way. But anyway, there's a whole swamp area there that was there. But this one in particular had, I'm going to see if I could describe it reasonably. There was a back, like, dirt road that ran basically along the north. I'm going to call it north. It probably wasn't actually north. Doug will correct me on that one of these days. But along the north end of it, there was one dirt road that went along, and that was basically the boundary of the site, the north end of that. And then there was, where the story takes place, there was a big open field that was one big open field that funneled into one path that traveled down and curved around through a big loop and went to the other field that was the main town area. So basically there was this open field, and that field we often used for, there was like a area that we used for cast camp that was just a storage container and some tents and stuff. And there was a way of like cutting through the woods to get straight to town, but I think you had to go through a swamp to do it. So we didn't do it very often. So we used this big long path for a lot of stuff. So in this case, we used it for there was a mod that was going on. So I forget exactly the situation, because there were a lot of different ones there. For those of you that remember the name, there was a Deridac mod that went along up there. That's how long ago it might have been. like his first appearance was in that area. But I don't think it was that one. I think it was something else. But but what was going on was the mod was going along all along that path. So there was like some fighting along the way, and then we get to the edge of the clearing, and it basically turned into a line fight where there was a front line and a front line of the bad guys, whatever they were. And there was a big scrimmage going on there, and it was kind of like at a stalemate where they were kind of fighting back and forth, but nothing had really moved. And at the time, I was playing Beren, who was my elven mage / hidden necromancer. But we won't talk about that because that's not part of the story. But and I was with Dante, who was one of the I don't want to say bigger, but maybe more skilled fighters in town. And the two of us were standing back from the front line because neither of us were frontline people. So we were just sort of standing back in the path, and the opening wasn't particularly big, so it was like 3 or 4 people wide kind of thing, so you couldn't push through very easily. And we're standing in the back going like, man, nothing we can do. All right, we'll just wait till something happens. And then I don't remember which one of us had the right idea. We're like, we could just circle around. I'm like, yeah, we could do that. And so we did hey, out of game, plot people, is this as is? Like, this is a forest, everything here is as is? And they're like, yeah, sure, yeah, sounds good. I'm like, okay. So the two of us go, all right, we got this. And we cut off the path. And it wasn't a great trail, but there was a small trail that went the path itself went up a hill to get to this plateau of the field that it was in. And so it went downhill from there, and the hill was on a bit of a plateau. So we basically skirted around the bottom of the hill all the way around to closer to the road, maybe halfway to the road at least, and then bushwhacked our way up to the top of the site. We got up to the top and looked over there, and we weren't exactly quiet. So they were like, all right, you and you go. I think it was just one guy. Anyway, I sent somebody over to go deal with us, but it split their line. So we pop up in the field, and we're looking over, and he and I were looking at each other, and I'm like, I'm a mage with a sword I don't know how to use, so I swing for ones. And I had put more of my ability into the necromancy part of my build than my actual mage part, so I had a couple fire darts to my name. So I'm like, well, this is going to be fun. And he was a decent fighter, but he wasn't huge. And nobody was big at that point in the game. So we come up at the top, and one guy comes running over to us. And Dante's like, all right, just distract him. And I'm like, okay. So I get up, and I'm like, I'm over here. And they chase after me, and I'm like, running away. And the guy running after me is like, why are you running? I turn around, I stop for that moment, and I turn around and say, because I'm a distraction. And he's like, wait, what? And then Dante comes in and goes, bah, 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 knocks him down immediately afterwards. And I'm like, hey, that worked. Phew! That totally wasn't going to work, I didn't think. But here we are. And then we kind of stand up and we're like, man, we're feeling good. We can sneak around behind the fight that's over there, and we look over in the fight, the wall has broken and everybody's in, and there's a big skirmish, and it's basically the mod is finishing as they complete the fight that's going on. And we're like, well, we helped a little bit, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah, we totally did something. Sure, why not? We high-fived each other and then just went, all right, moving on. And we moved on. It was good. I don't remember what that mod was about. I just remember that. Why are you running? Because I'm a distraction. I enjoyed that a lot. Because it works. Always works. So yeah. Anyway, that's my other story. I had those 2 locked and loaded. So, they aren't long. I really got to come up with hour-long stories one of these days, but maybe not. Maybe that'd be a bit boring. Anyway. Oh, alright. Anybody else have any other questions or comments or suggestions or anything else you want to ask me while you got my attention? You again are welcome to unmute and talk on the Discord there, or you can type it into the chat, or you can message me on Facebook. I've got all of these things open in case one of those is your preferred method. I do not see anything. I'll give everybody a couple more seconds to see if they want to do anything. Nice. Amazing. So I didn't get a a question or anything, but I just got a great help to your thing. So Tyler, you should be fine now. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you, Alana. You're amazing. This is, I guess, a good point to bring up for all this. Like this, I was thinking about this the other day of like what is necessary to do for running these kind of games, and because it's been an interesting eye-opening experience having FA Ottawa up in Ottawa Kingston up and running. It being a smaller game on it's kind of like a less site with less amenities and all these kind of things. It's been this like amazing view into the past. Right? I look at that and I'm like, I remember that when I was like when FA was first getting going, like FA Toronto was getting going, and I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. So like it's an interesting look into all of that, and it's an interesting look into like what is necessary when the game is of that into at that stage, right? So we've been running that game. Greg's been running it pretty much solo. I have been helping him here and there along the way, but all of the plot, all of the costuming, all of the stuff, that's all Greg, and he's doing a really awesome job doing it. But it's possible when the game is that size, right? When you have that many people and you have that kind of stuff going on, you can do that sort of thing. But as the game grows and gets bigger and gets more complicated, you need more people helping out, and so you need people like our fancy Alana over there, being awesome, doing things to help out along the way, because it's just not possible. Like, as we do these kind of things, we need the help that we have, and like most of them, I hope, understand how thankful we are for the work that they put in, because it wouldn't be possible. We couldn't run the game the way it is now if it was just like Doug and Eric and I. It'd be impossible. So, all that is very nice and very cool that people are doing that, and it is still my hope down the line that, or now already, if possible, that everybody who is doing this kind of work is fairly and happily compensated for what they're doing, because that's something that I think is important, and everybody feels like they are appreciated and actually feel they're contributing to at the same time to making this a better place, and they are. Everybody who helps out is, so that's really cool, and yeah, lots of love to everybody who comes out to these games, because it's an interesting, weird shared hobby we have, but it's a kick-ass one. So, I'm really happy we get to do it. Anyway, I'm being mushy again. I get like this when I have moments to reflect. Okay. Alright. Anybody have any more questions, comments, queries, or stories of their own they'd like to share, or other random things that have come up that you want to tell me about? I'm here for another little while, or if we're all set, then I'm also happy cutting out a bit early and resting my voice again. I get sore doing this almost more than I do yelling and screaming and fighting at game. It's interesting. Though I have had a couple games where I've had to rasp my voice really roughly for something, or do that horrible high-pitched goblin speak that nobody likes but everybody does. It's very annoying, and I'm not going to say it now so that you all actually want to stay on the call. And those kind of things have caused my voice to be pretty terrible. I've come home from a few events and had to take a day of not talking to recuperate. So it happens every once in a while. But yeah, there you go. Alright. I have had nothing else come up. I am just rambling for the most part here, so I think I might call it here. If anybody has anything else they want to say or do... Goblin speech demo. I've been asked for a goblin speech demo. Do you actually want one? That's the real question. Comment is, but what if I wanted a goblin speech demo? If you actually want it, I will do it. I said I would do... Well, not anything, but I would talk about things while I'm here. It's horrifying. You all know it. Of course. Yes. All right. It's always that high-pitched of like, "Hello, I'm a goblin. How you doing? Oh, is this nailed down? No? Okay, mine now." That's the standard goblin fare. So now that we're moving into other things as well, so that's the like crazy thief voice at this point. So that's fun. Dang. I aim to please. You're welcome. It has been fun doing some like weird voices. I know at one point I made a dwarf character that I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and like pull off the quote unquote dwarvish, which is a weird bastardization of like maybe Scottish accent. I'm not sure where it came from, but it seems to be the regular dwarven thing now. I tried to pull that off as a PC. It didn't happen. I would pick a couple words that I knew how to pronounce, and then I'd say them, and then I'd veer back into just my current Southern Ontario Canadian accent. And then I'd be like, oh no, I forgot, I gotta go back into that. And then I'd do it again, and it's just this constant accent, no accent, accent, no accent. Yeah, it was fun. So I can't pull those off very well, or at least I haven't tried that hard. I'm sure I could get speech like lessons to be able to do it, but that sounds like a lot of work. When instead I could just do the goblin speech all the time. Yeah, never mind. So, anyway. Alright, I think that's... Unless somebody else chimes in to just keep me around here for longer, because you want to stare at this, then I think I'll probably call it for the night. Thank you, everybody who showed up and for your questions and everything else. If you are watching this on YouTube later on, thanks for doing that. And if you do have questions or comments, you can reach me through Facebook or through the owner's email. You're more than welcome to send things. We do read everything we get, and we do take suggestions and critiques seriously, so do send in some if you have some. I can't guarantee we will change things based on how you like it, because we do have... There are a lot of factors, so I'll just leave it at that. But we do like hearing input and feedback on things, good or bad. All of it's helpful, so by all means do so. And yeah, I'm going to call it for the night then. Thank you all for coming. Thank you everybody who helps out with all of these games and all of the stuff that we do in our fun little hobby that we all share. I hope you all have a great night and a good time, and I will hopefully see all of you at an event coming up soon. All right. Thanks, everybody.